A couple of days ago I had a track day at Brands Hatch and the car performed brilliantly. But I had one issue, and that was I somehow had a minor oil leak. Now, I don't know if you recognise this area here, but normally the filter housing will be here. We'll look at the filter housing in a second. But let me explain where the oil was coming from. Well, actually, I'm not sure where it's coming from. I can tell you where it was going to. Hopefully you can see there's a slight glistening down the side of the block down there. I have cleaned this up to some extent, but there was some oil on the side of this air box here, and I was getting oil on the alternator. We tried a number of things, so we tightened up the 3 bolts on the base of the filter housing, but you have to be so careful because it will be easy to strip them. And that one there seems slightly loose. I don't know why. Anyway, we nipped that up, but it didn't stop the leak. And then on my oil filter housing, I have the type that has the is it called weather kit, hot weather kit? It's got the oil cooler that goes on the side that plumbs into the water or to the coolant. My car doesn't work like that, but it does have that style of filter housing, and it has a plate on the side. We thought the plate on the side was leaking because there's a gasket that goes around the ports on the side of the filter housing. We thought that was a problem. That wasn't the problem either. So the final belief is that it was a problem with my oil pipe work unions. So you can see I've got the oil pipes strapped to one side here. So these are the pipes that go down into the oil radiator. And I don't think it was these connectors themselves, but I'll show you what I think was causing the issue. Here are the components. Here's the body of the oil filter housing, and you can see that it's got these ports on the side, and this is where the all-weather heat exchanger would normally bolt on. But what we do, and this is, I'm talking about 116 Trophy, and it's probably true with other people as well, we have this plate that goes on the side like that, and you can see that it's got the 2 oil connections, one out to the radiator and one coming back. Oil radiator, yeah, oil cooler. So this has got this seal, and that seal obviously sits in there like that, and we had a suspicion that maybe that was leaking, but it doesn't look damaged and it's pretty new, so it doesn't seem likely. Then there's the oil seal that sits on the bottom of the filter housing, so that goes in here. What does that go? Like that, like that. And there was concern maybe that's split or something, but that looks good. It's slightly harder than this one. Feels slightly more, yeah, slightly harder, but I don't think it's a problem. It's been on there for 2 years, that's all. And obviously, a certain number of races and track days and tests. Now, I don't think either of those have caused the problem. One thing you may remember if you've been watching my series of videos is I've had the engine in and out several times. And I remember that when I was undoing one of these, and I'm pretty sure it was this lower one, as I undid the connector, the oil pipe connector on the front of it, this bit spun. And I believe that the oil was just weeping out of the threads here. You would have thought I'd notice the staining just here. And when I assembled this in the first place, I did put Loctite thread sealer on those threads. But I think the fact that I made it spin and then tightened it back up, I think that's what's caused it to start to weep. The oil pressure in the car was fine throughout the whole of my track day, so it's obviously not a big issue, and it wasn't losing much oil. I mean, the oil went down a bit during the test, but I would expect that normally anyway. It goes down from sort of max down to about 3/4 between minimum and maximum after a day of testing. So while I was there, I was there with the 4040 guys. They were supporting me, and they have had problems with this style of plate anyway, with it leaking around here. So they actually gave me this. So it's the same thing, as you can see, but instead the pipework is now welded onto the back plate. Now the back plate is slightly thinner, as you can see, hopefully, and also let me see if I can compare these two. Now they're gonna come to about the same position. I think this is slightly shorter from the face of the back plate to the top. None of which is a bad thing, because one of the issues I've had is pulling the pipework far enough away from the airbox. So this may give me about another 5mm of clearance between the oil pipework and the airbox. I'm trying to stop heat transfer into the airbox, obviously, because I don't want to heat the air as it's going into the engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, quite obviously, fit this plate onto here, like that, and put all the pipework back in. The only thing I've got to do is that in this one, you'll see that I drilled a hole and tapped it, and this is the earth point for my oil pressure and water temperature sensors. So I need to do that again, so I'm going to have to drill a hole in this and tap it in the new plate, so that I can fit that. It goes in a position that doesn't interfere with anything. If you look, let's see if I get this on the right way around, like that. So you can see that actually the hole comes through, you know, you can drill right through, no problem, and it just comes through just there. So as long as I get that, as long as I drill that hole in the right place, that'll be fine. I'll just probably put a load of muck in there. I have to clean it again with some cleaner, but yeah, so that's the plan. That's worked out okay, except for a couple of things, a couple of notes I should make. These were the bolts that came with the other plate that I used. I guess that's cadmium plating, is it? I'm not quite sure, but it's plated anyway. They're too long for this plate. So this plate is about 6mm, what do I calculate? 6.5mm thinner than the original plate. So, and the bolts are too long, and they bottom out in the, you know, in here before they do up. I tried cutting them down, and that works okay, except for one problem. And that is that if you look at where the welds fall on these bottom two holes next to the oil sort of spigots, or whatever you call them, you can see that they're too close. And so what happens is the flange on the bolt binds with the weld, so you can't bolt it down properly. So I've had to switch to hex Allen socket bolts, and that works fine. Now maybe we should measure one of these. Let's check it out. Okay, hopefully you can see this. So they are, well, nominally 26mm long to there, and how about this bit? guess they're 20, yeah, they're 20 mil. I still can't remember whether you call that a 20 mil or a 26 mil bolt, but I'm guessing that that's a 20 mil bolt because that's the length of the thread. So that's what you need. They fit fine. I think these are plated steel. They're not stainless. I do have stainless steel Allen bolts, but these aren't stainless steel. I think these are plated steel. You shouldn't really use stainless if you can avoid it, because you get a stronger electrolytic, or whatever you call it, reaction between the metals. So between stainless steel and aluminium, you get a stronger effect than you do between mild steel or other types of steel and aluminium. So I wouldn't use stainless steel. If you can get these bolts cadmium plated, I guess that would be even better. But anyway, that's done that. Now the only other issue I've had is, and I don't know whether this was just with the plate that I've got, all three bolts went in okay, but this one here I could not. It kept going in, trying to go in at an angle, and the hole was about no more than 1/2 mil out, but of course this has to be so precise. So the hole was about 1/2 mil too far that way. So what I had to do is I had to file with a needle file, very gently file out a bit of the hole to extend it, and now as you can see, the bolts go in. The bolt goes in fine. What I failed to mention was that these bolts are M6 with a 1 mil pitch on the thread. Okay, so we've got a new gasket. The part number, as you can see, is 11427508970. So that's the one that goes in there, in the side of here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick some oil on this, just to make sure that it moves around and seats properly. I don't know if you do this, but I always tend to, whenever I'm putting an oil seal on, I put oil on it. It seems a strange thing to do, but the theory being that if it can move around, it's more likely to seat correctly. So let's got oil on that. So let's drop that into there. Okay, that's looking good. Right. I don't think we need any more oil on this, so we then put that in place. I haven't drilled it. Okay, we'll take a short break there. I'm going to have to come back. Okay, I think we're back on track now. So just to explain, the thing that I hadn't done was drilled this hole here. I've drilled it with a 5 mil drill and then tapped it to M6, and it's for this this small bolt here, which holds it provides the earth for the oil pressure and water temperature sensors. So okay, we'll put that to one side, and now we can just assemble it. Now I'm not sure that, I don't have a specific torque setting for these, but as this is M6 into cast aluminium, which is the same as the the bolts that hold the cam cover on, they're M6 into cast aluminium, and the torque setting for those is 10 Newton meters. So I'm going to do these the same. Okay, so I'll just try and pull it down evenly to squish the gasket down. All right, 10 newton meters is not a lot, is it? So I don't want to go too far with that. All right, that's it. So the next job is I'll just give this a final clean, make sure I haven't got any bits and pieces in there, but I don't think I have. It all looks clean, and then we'll get it back on the car. Here's the new gasket for the base of the oil filter housing. So the number is 11427508971. So 970 for the one on the side and 971 for the one on the base. Same deal. I'm going to stick some oil on the gasket first, and then I'll put it into the body of the filter housing, and then we'll put it on. Okay, it's oiled that. Goes that way. So hopefully you can see that. Just get that seated in there. It's sort of got some little grippy things so that it holds in place, which is quite nice, because of course otherwise as soon as you turn it upside down it's going to drop out. But it won't do that, hopefully. All right, and then I've already thoroughly cleaned the top surface of the engine block piece that sticks out, so that just is going to sit on there like that. So let's go and find the bolts. In the past I would have tended to put Loctite on these bolts, but I don't think they need it, and it's certainly not done like that BMW standard. You know, if they required that, then the original bolts would have the impregnated thread locker in them, but these haven't. So I'm going to go with the BMW engineers and just do what they do. This isn't a part that is, you know, moving around or anything. It's just a fixing, so we should be good. All right. Now the other thing is, you know, it's tempting to use the old Makita power thing, but I'm not going to do that. I don't tend to use this when I'm doing things up, so I just stick to a standard sort of, you know, socket wrench. We're going to do them up to 10 again, as this is into cast aluminium as well. Actually, this spec for this might actually be in my Haynes manual. I know the plate on the side isn't in there because I've looked before. I'll go and have a look in a minute. Let's just get this down a little bit. Just gradually put it down level, as we did with the side plate. All right. Now let's get the manual and let's see what the torque setting should be, although I'm pretty sure it's going to be 10 newton meters. All right, so looking at this book, it's got everything to do with oil intake, manifold bolts, oil level sensor, oil pressure sensor, oil pump to cylinder block. One thing it doesn't have is the oil filter housing. So I think we're going to go with 10. Yeah, we're going to go with 10. I know lots of people don't bother with torquing things, you know, they just do it by feel. And I totally appreciate that, but it's just that I'm not good with this stuff, and I tend to pull on it too hard, and I'll end up stripping the threads. I've done it before, so I try and work to some reasonable torque settings if I can. Okay, that's done. Now I'll show you how the pipes go on here. So I've used a tie wrap, cable tie to keep the pipes out of the way. The other thing is you'll see that I've got the pipe in a plastic bag so that I don't get anything dropping into it. Now that should go on there. Goodness, I hope this is the right fitting. Otherwise I'm in dire straits. It's looking good. Actually, I'm really happy with this. This is a neater solution, I think, than the other one. Let's come close to that alternator bolt. That's the only problem. I'm going to have to pull that up when I tighten it to make sure it doesn't chafe against the alternator bolt. That's the other one. Okay, let's move that across like that. That's it. Okay, I like it. Well done, 4040. It's a good solution, I think. Yep, just got to be careful that it doesn't touch other things. That's the only one. Is that? Yeah, it's that, just that alternator bolt that's the problem. Just wondering if I can reposition this slightly. I'll tell you one thing, I think I've mentioned this before, and you can see what it's just done to my glove. These pipes, sometimes the little, they're stainless steel braided oil hoses, and sometimes the little spikes stick through them, and you can see what it's doing to my gloves where I've touched it on one of the spikes. Okay. All right. Well, it is working, and it does seem good, but this area here has become a bit of a problem, hasn't it? It's all getting a bit tight. Especially as that contact there could touch on the body of the... Yeah. Okay. Unexpected hitch. I think the answer is just to move that down slightly. No, that's not the answer, is it? Well, there. Now, if I was doing this again, I would sight the housing for the water temperature sensor. I would move it 10 or 15 mil to the left, and that would give me more space. I mean, the one thing I do like is it is pulling the pipes further over, which I think is going to give me more clearance with the airbox. But this is going to be a bit of a juggle. I suppose the worst thing that's going to happen is my water temperature is going to appear to be right up the, off the scale, because it's going to earth out on this, and yeah, it's going to show full temperature, full scale deflection, or whatever you call it. Okay, let me juggle around a bit with this, and I'll bolt it up, and then I'll show you what I've done. I just thought I'd show you this so I don't damage the or mark the nuts on the oil unions. I wrap them in a couple of layers of paper towel, and then I do them up. It's a bit unnerving because it's aluminium into aluminium, and I'm a bit loath to over tighten it. I think we're done there. So just to let you know that between the oil pipe, or the junction in the oil pipe, and the alternator bolt, I've got about a 3 mil gap. Yeah, 3 mil, but as they're both, maybe 3 to 5 mil, but as they're both hard fixed into the block, it's not like they're going to move relative to each other. So I think we're okay there. I'm not completely happy with this because it's now pushing this upwards. So I think what I'm going to do, not right now because I've got a race in a week's time and I need to get the car prepared, but after the race I think what I'm going to do is buy another top hose, and I'll cut it, but I'll move the sensor across, because I can move that sensor doesn't need to go anywhere near there. It can go right over here, and it'll still fit still meet the in the right place. So because this, like this, that is so close to the side of this. In fact, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to get the nut off. I mean, it's not going to touch. That's the only good thing. There's no way I can see that that's going to touch. Where is the nut for that? Okay. That's a problem in itself, because there should be a nut on top of there. What have I done with that? I mean, these are the wires. The purple one goes to the oil pressure and the orange one goes to the water temperature. Okay, let's put the other bit back on. Now we've got to, the thing we've got to do is put in the bolt for the two earths. So if you remember, I drilled and tapped this side of the plate. Yeah, that bolt's a bit long. Won't make any difference for the moment, and I can't be bothered to go and find another one. Let's just get it done. I mean, today is Friday, and the first race is not tomorrow, but next Saturday. So you'd think I've got plenty of time, but the other thing I've got to do yet, I've got to do an oil change, which is not a big deal really. I've fitted some new tyres on rims, so that's been done. Now there's one other big thing I've got to do. Oh yeah, I know what I've got to. Oh, I've just gone and clamped my rubber glove into that. Yeah, the thing I've got to do is, or I want to do, is fit some adjustable front bushes to vary the caster angle on the front, which I'll cover in another video. I've got the bushes, I've just got to fit them. And that means I've got to get the front control arms off of the suspension, press the old bushes out and put the new ones in. So I don't want to leave myself too short on time. I mean, I've got a week, but unfortunately I have other things I have to do during the week. So it's all a consideration. I think that's pretty much done it. I've put this in just to stop anything dropping in there. So just to recap on what we've done, I had an oil leak. I believe it was coming out of one of the spigots coming out of this side plate. So I've replaced it with a different type of side plate, and to cover all eventualities, I've also put in a new gasket in the base of the filter housing and a new gasket on the side here where the plate fits on. Just to let you know, the gaskets were £15.60, I think they were, from BMW. The only thing left to do now is put the airbox back in, connect up the, this venting pipe work and stuff. Actually, these electrics, that clamp goes on that top bolt there, so I'm going to have to actually take that top bolt out again, put that in there and do it back up to 10 Newton meters, but that's not a problem, can do that. And then connect up the sensor wiring, and then we're done. So I hope you found that useful. It's been a long video for what it's been, but I think the thing I wanted to show you was the difference in style of these side plates, the pros and cons of each. The only downside of this one, I think, well, aside from the fact that I had to file a hole out a bit, the other thing is you can't use the flanged bolts into this because they won't clear the welds around the spigot pipes coming out of the side. We'll see, won't we, if this has cured the problem. So I'll follow up with a note on that, just to let you know that it's all looks good. Okay, so hopefully you can see that and hear me. It's all now back in place and no sign of leaks, so I think we're all good.